Hi all, and welcome to the new lecture related to Austrian School of Economics. The topic of today will be the market. The reference book is always Principles of Economics of Seftin Amos. We start with a quotation from Ludwig von Mises about the market. He wrote, "The market economy is the social system of division of labor under private ownership of the means of production. Everybody acts on his own behalf, but everybody's actions aim at the satisfaction of other people's needs as well as the satisfaction of his own. Everybody is acting serves his fellow citizens. Everybody, on the other hand, is served by his fellow citizens. Everybody is both a means and an end in himself, an ultimate end for himself and a means to other people in their endeavors to attain their own ends. Money allows for specialization and the division of labor, which in turn encourages the emergence and growth of a market economy. A market economy is a social order in which people are able to cooperate in very large numbers on economic production, providing goods and services for one another to the benefit of all involved, voluntarily, without a coercive authority dictating and coordinating their actions. The capitalist market system makes people to specialize in what they do best and focus on how to provide value for others, rather than focusing on what they value. What coordinates the activity of producers in the division of labor is their ability to perform economic calculation on the best uses of resources they own, using the denominator, the monetary price. When the market price of all goods is measured in terms of one good, individuals are able to compare prices both to other prices and their own subjective valuations and make consumption and production decisions. Value, as discussed in the second lecture, is subjective. It cannot be measured objectively as there is no constant unit against which it can be measured. But when an individual makes his own choices in a market, he is weighting economic choices against his subjective valuation. The values may not be measurable with a constant unit, but they are comparable to one constant frame of reference, the individual making the valuation. Knowing his own preferences allows men to order different options according to a scale of preference. While we cannot attach cardinal number valuation to different options, we can order them in terms of preference. And now we discuss about the consumer of good market, the market of consumer goods. Individuals values goods by ranking them in relation to other goods. For example, a man in a given day will not be willing to pay $31 for the first pound of beef, $30 for the second pound of beef, $16 for the third, and so on till $1 he will not be willing to pay $1 for the eighth pound of beef. It results that a market price of $31 and there is no demand for beef, and at $30 there will be demand only for one, at $16 only for two, going till the price of $1 where there will be demand for 7. As the price increases, the quantity demanded declines. Demand curves always slope downward or are vertical, but they cannot slope upward because the quantity demanded for a good cannot increase if the price increases. The analysis conducted for one individual can be applied to all individuals in a market for goods. On the supply side, producers perform a similar mental calculus with the goods they sell, with the cost of producing the good is the prime determinant of the ordinal produce value scale. As example, as $1 he cannot produce at $1 he cannot produce any beef, at $2 he can produce 10 pounds of beef, at $6 he can produce 7 pounds of beef, and so on. The law of supply states that the price goes up. As the price goes up, owners of an economic good become more willing and able to sell larger quantities. As a consequence, supply curve slope upward only. And here you can see both the demand and the supply curve. And now a very important topic will be the equilibrium. There will be one price at which the quantities demanded and supplied are equal, and that is referred as the equilibrium price. This price functions like a magnet of buyers and sellers, drawing them to always transact around it. If prices are set higher, the sellers supply a quantity of the good larger than the quantity demanded by buyers, resulting in a surplus. Sellers will want to drop the price to have more demand. If prices were set lower than the equilibrium price, consumers would demand a quantity larger than provided by sellers, resulting in a shortage, which would incentivize sellers to raise their prices to ration the supply and maximize their profit. With the example showed earlier, we can see that there is one equilibrium at the price of $4. At this price, there are not surpluses or shortages. But this important thing of Austrian economic school is that equilibrium is not a final state, but it is more productive to think of markets as equilibrating process rather than to imagine that markets arrive at a rigid set of equilibrium prices of all goods. The world of human actions is constantly changing, and supply and demand conditions are constantly being affected by various factors. As their individual conditions change, the realities of the market change. Equilibrium, then, is not a final state at which markets arrive. Instead, markets are constant processes of discovery where supply and demand conditions are always equilibrating toward the price that help producing the most valuable for the actors involved. A demand curve could shift due to changing preference, for example, changing income or wealth, or changing prices or other goods or services. Other than price, also market supply can also be affected by the cost of production and the prices of related products that can be produced with the same factor of production. In fact, as producers' cost of production rise, they are able to supply lower quantities of their output at each price level, shifting the supply cost on the left. On the other hand, if the producer realizes he is able to make better returns by shifting his productive factor to producing another good whose price is rising, that will shift the supply curve for the original good to the left, reducing the quantity supplied at all price level. In industries where technological innovation always allows producers to produce increasing quantity of a good at a given price, the result is a shift in the market supply curve to the right. This trend can be seen in high-tech industry, where prices and quantities are constantly increasing due to increased productivity and technological innovation. We can apply the same analysis to shift in the demand curve. Factors that causes increases in consumer demand at all prices or a drop in the price of complementary goods will cause the demand to shift to the right. And now we are going to discuss about the economizing in the market order. That is also the last slide of this lecture. Under free market system, capitalists and entrepreneurs cannot oppress workers because the workers have the freedom to live and work elsewhere, because the consumers have the freedom to buy their products elsewhere. Only by carefully and correctly walking the tightrope between workers and consumers can entrepreneurs continue to operate. We can think of the market system as the larger framework in which all the previously discussed acts of economizing can be practiced with the greatest increase of productivity. Labor, capital, technology, power, trade, and money, all tools we have seen in the past, are all tools that can be employed far more productively in the concept of free and interpersonal exchange of the market. As a result, the market economy has steadily increased the real wage of workers, because the market economy is constantly finding new ways of increasing the value of human time by using it most productively to satisfy the needs of other humans. Prices are not arbitrary numbers placed by merchants. They are arrived at through a complex interplay of humans acting and affecting market supply and demand. A market transaction taking place at a particular price indicates that both of the buyers and the sellers chose to accept this price. Both of them will obviously prefer other prices. The buyer would have preferred a lower price, the seller would have preferred a higher price. But the actual price was clearly acceptable for both, since they traded. If a politician were to intervene and force the price change by law, there is no reason to assume the buyer and seller will make the same decision as before. And from the perspective of an economist, such a law will be far more destructive than whatever prices had emerged on the market, no matter how distasteful they were to leaders. And with this, we are at the end of the chapter related to market. See you in the next lectures. Bye!